And he looked at me and he said, it won't taste the same. You have to have it in Mumbai. So then we talked about his 100th birthday. A lot of people don't know it, but the Maulvi in Hyderabad had told his family and told him that he had found records to say that Hussain was not 95, because in those days, the birth certificates and chronology, all of that was, the records were not accurate. And the Maulvi had said, according to the calendar, he was 100 years old, and the entire family had got together in Dubai to celebrate that occasion a few months ago. And I asked him, what was the best gift you received from your family? And he said one of his grand nieces had put together a basket of goodies from Mumbai, including the famous cutting chai, which he so missed in the kullar that he used to love to drink it out of. And he said, when I had that chai, bas, swad aa gaya, India's taste was on my tongue. He lived, every fiber of his being was just longing and yearning to come back to India, but not in an over-sentimentalized way. He was too proud a man. He did not want to come back and sneak into the country. And the fact is that we let him down because not a single minister gave him the assurance he was looking for, that his life would not be in danger, that he would not be attacked at the airport itself, as was the threat, that his legs would be broken the minute he landed in India. He merely needed an assurance, and he said to me, had Indira Gandhi been alive, she would have given me that assurance. She would have made sure that I got back to my country without any of this, drama-bazi that's going on. He was afraid. He was an old man. He was afraid that his life would be endangered. And frankly, if you ask me, he died of a broken heart, and that's the truth. He would have lived another 5 years, a very productive life, and he was painting the biggest painting of his life, which is the Ramayana. That's his last work. That in itself is an indication of how strongly he felt as an Indian and respected, not just, he was, like Shabana said, he was the best example of the plurality of our society, the strongest, most powerful symbol of all that is good about our society when we don't surrender to the lunatic fringes. But all I want to tell you, Arnab, is that each time I wrote about him, each time I urged the government to do something to get him back, I would get the most awful hate mail, abusive hate mail, which even asked questions like, oh, so how would you feel if he painted you in the nude, or your daughters in the nude, or your mother in the nude? And I would respond by saying, is this the culture you're talking about? Is this what we are going to be so proud of ourselves, by telling an old man he can't return to his country because we do not respect freedom of expression?
Well, I think our country is too great to have allowed this to happen. Before I come back to Shabana, I know Syed Mirza, you want to share an experience here. Actually, why don't you do that before I go to Rahul Ishwar? You wanted to add on to something?
The experience is that my brother happened to meet him 2 months ago.
Okay.
And he said the same thing that Shobha has said about him being 100 years old. And he made a cracked little joke, a self-deprecatory kind of joke. He says, people keep asking, he says, ye 100 baras ka putla ab tak toota nahi? And it is a self-deprecatory kind of humor, but adding to what Shobha said and what Shabana said about this man has spent something like 12 years going regularly to Banaras to listen to the Ramayana, Valmiki's Ramayana.
That's true.
12 years. Yeah. He goes continuously, and that was part of this man's being. Yeah. And this is in the 70s, in the 80s. The man was, all right, he lived abroad, but India was with him all the time. Yeah. All the time. And I don't think there's any painter who had absorbed so much of the syncretic culture called India. And this man, and it showed in his work, every single painting of his reflects the kind of, the sweep of this man and the depth of this man and what he understood about India. Yeah. And he's on the run.
Was the way in which he was looked at a little shallow, perhaps? That's one of the questions which will have to be answered. Now, Rahul Ishwar is joining us as well from Thiruvananthapuram. Rahul, previous debates on the MF Hussain, controversies, etc., you have taken a strong position. Now, my question to you is, somewhere down the line, do you believe that the ubiquitous nature of his art, the greatness of his personality, and the force of his intellect and his love for India was undermined in the course of taking such hard positions?
3 points, Arnabji. 1, my condolences for the family, my prayers for the departed soul. The second point, he is a great man. I have met him once and I had an interaction with him. We don't disagree with him. We only humbly disagree with some of his paintings, but there is no disrespect. There were some plans by some people to protest or to do something. I know I myself have called many people and said, don't do it. We should always respect a person. He's an Indian, he's a painter. Maybe we have some humble disagreements with him. So I always believe my position is clear. One, I am not a Hindu nationalist. I am a Hindu and a nationalist. I don't belong to the Hindu right. I am a right Hindu. But I do have some reservations, disagreements with some of his paintings. I don't want to name it because it is a day which he passed away. So I would say, let Sri M.F. Hussain be remembered as a great painter, but with some paintings that are controversial, that some section of the society might feel offended, but I condemn any violent protest or threats to him. We went to the High Court, obtained a favorable verdict. So I am very sure Hussain Saab will be remembered in a very positive light, but sad with some blemishes, some issues and some controversies. I believe even though this is a day when we should remember his positive points, history will remember him with both a lot of positives and definitely with some negatives.
Depends on what you want to remember, really, isn't it, Shabana Azmi? Depends on how you want to remember a person's legacy, Ms. Azmi, isn't it? Because you can look at...
I think it is a lot of great artists to pay huge prices for their art, for their greatness, for their fearlessness. And Hussain is a product of that, whether it is Hussain, whether it is Faiz Ahmad Faiz, or even though he was not an artist, Socrates had been poisoned, and we've never learnt any lessons anytime.
I think that's very strongly put, Shabana Azmi. I also like to welcome Akhil Sibbal and Pritish Nandi into this discussion. My first question to you is, Akhil Sibbal, you've been his lawyer, but you also closely interacted with him. Did the government do enough to reassure M.F. Hussain about his own safety?
Well, I think that today is not a day to be too confrontational. It's a day to grieve. It's a day to reach out to his loved ones and remember the good. And please keep in mind that the canvas of his life spanned 100 years. He saw the world age, saw the world change, and remained youthful and exuberant through all of it. So, these are part of the challenges of life. He was larger than life, and so the controversies that followed him were of equal magnitude. He dealt with them, he moved forward, he was positive, and I can tell you at a personal level, I'm coming to your question about the government. Let me answer that straight away. I did feel at the time, certainly, that the government was taking a very circumspect and careful position, not coming out with any statements of support, not being proactive, essentially being a mute spectator. I found it curious to hear a couple of statements on behalf of the government today, which were far more strongly worded and described the forces that attacked him as being communal forces that hounded him out of the country. I wish that they had said that at that time.
Exactly.
We didn't even get an expression of that nature at that time. They said exactly nothing. And that's the problem. But I think that we can't lay all blame only at the doorstep of the government. The government is a convenient whipping boy. We need to ask ourselves and be a little reflective as to whether, as a silent majority, we were too silent.
But
and whether
Akhil,
it's time that we made our voices heard.
No, Akhil, you make a good point. But the point is, you can say the government is a favorite whipping boy, but then if somebody can do something, you ask those who can do something. So the government could have done something. Question is to Pritish Nandi, taking off from what Akhil said. Mr. Nandi, what is the lesson? I'm asking this repeatedly. I asked Shabana Azmi earlier. What is the lesson? That maybe politicians, political parties, those in power must sometimes forget vote banks, take the right decision without thinking of the political fallout or without fearing the political fallout.
I really believe that we are all pretending that there's a bunch of goons and thugs who harassed M.F. Hussain. That's not true. It was a clearly orchestrated political campaign, and the tragedy is that the state did not do anything to make him feel secure. I know because I was his friend, I stood by him during those times, and with very little I could have done, very little most of us could have done as individuals. It was the responsibility of the state to have made him feel more secure in India. He hated leaving India and going away. There is absolutely no doubt about it, and even though the government might say, I mean, I heard government representatives say earlier this evening that he went away, nobody asked him to go away. Of course nobody asked him to go away. But life was extremely difficult for him to live out here, and nobody raised a hand to protect him, help him, stand by him.
It's about taking a position, Akhil.
And it's shameful that a government cannot defend its most eminent creative artist.
It's about taking a position beyond political interest.
And I agree. I agree entirely that while the people carrying out the vandalism may have been thugs and the lumpen element, they certainly had political backing. Even the cases that were filed all over the country, to my mind, were a well-orchestrated political strategy. That was all, according to me, plain to see. The difficulty was, today the government says those were communal forces. At that time, it didn't say so. There were no statements of support.
Exactly.
But let me, on a slightly different note, say, though Mr. Hussain was deeply pained by all of this, and yes, he did yearn to come back and believed that one day he might return. But at the same time, I feel, based on the little interaction that I had with him, that it did not leave him embittered. It did not leave him angry. His heart was still filled with love. He looked at the life around him like an exuberant child taking it all in for the first time. He was excited about his next project.
Akhil,
he was at peace in that sense.
No, Akhil, he was, but slightly I would disagree with you there. I think from what he told us as a channel, he was both hurt and angry.
Yes.
And I'd like to quote what he said. Then I want to go to Shobha De once more to get a sense of how he was feeling. Because we had asked him, these people, we asked him, why don't you stay back and fight, Akhil? And he said, at this age of 95, I don't want to fight anybody. That is the reason I have not spoken out about it. That does not mean that I am not angry. I am angry. Yes, I am hurt inside. But what is the point of doing that? Yeah. I take them as my countrymen. Some of them are misguided. So it's better to overlook those. He was hurt and angry, but at the age of 95, he didn't have the interest to fight these forces anymore. That's the point, really, that I was driving home.
Fair enough. Let me just very quickly respond to that. Keep in mind that as far as the legal cases are concerned, he fought them till the very end. There was an extremely sensitive, hard-hitting and emphatic judgment of the Delhi High Court in his favor, which ended by saying a painter at 90 ought to be at home painting his canvas.
Yes.
And it expressly said that, this handful of people and this puritanism that is, this modern phenomenon which seems to ignore our cultural history, which is rich with all kinds of sensual depiction. Why is this group holding the entire country to hostage? So I think that's what we have to ask ourselves. I think we need to inwardly reflect about what we allowed to happen.
We need to reflect, and this reflection, we are getting all kinds of responses tonight as we're having this discussion. The question is, can we have the openness of mind to reflect about what happened with MF Hussain without being defensive? There is no need to be defensive about it. We need to learn about it. Shobha De, was he angry? Was he hurting? Did he talk about that?
He was not angry or bitter at all, but I must say that he mentioned specifically that he had hoped that Kapil Sibal would somehow lobby on his behalf with the powerful forces within government to assure him that if he came back to India, the government would provide him with the sort of security and sense of safety. And he was counting on Kapil to do that for him, and he felt extremely let down when it didn't happen. He just became kind of resigned to his fate. And for the first time in the 40 years that I've known him and met him so countless number of times, he was without a paintbrush. And I asked him, I said, Hussain Saab, aapka paintbrush kidhar hai? And he just shrugged, and he looked so desperately lonely. And I felt at that moment that he had put away that paintbrush forever.